Imagine it's 15,000 years ago. The sun just went down. There's no phone in your pocket, no TV in the corner, no app to open, no game to load, no video to scroll to, just you, a fire, and a whole night ahead of you with nothing to fill it. So what do? Turns out the answer is way stranger than they just sat there. Ancient humans invented dice before they invented writing. They buried kings with board games. They played sports so dangerous that losing could get you killed. And some of the toys archaeologists have dug up are things you've probably never heard of. Here's what nobody told you about boredom. It might be the reason you're even here.
The fire was the first TV. Let's start with the obvious one, the fire. Picture this. You've hunted all day, you've eaten, the sun is gone, and it's pitch black outside. The kind of dark you've probably never experienced, with no streetlights, no phone screen, nothing. But the fire is still going, and everyone is sitting around it. Here's the thing. That fire wasn't just keeping you warm. Scientists believe it was changing the way your brain worked in real time. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied a group called the Juhoansi Bushmen in the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to how humans lived for thousands of years. During the day, she found people talked about practical stuff, complaints, chores, who owes who what. But at night, around the fire, over 80% of the conversation flipped to something else entirely. Stories, songs, myth. The firelight itself seemed to change what people wanted to talk about. It softened faces, lowered guards, turned a group of tired, hungry people into something closer to an audience. And here's where it gets wild. Some of those stories weren't just entertainment. In Australia, Aboriginal oral traditions describe coastlines and sea levels that scientists have confirmed match real geological events from roughly 7,000 years ago. Read that again. A story survived being told out loud around fires for 7,000 years. No writing, no recording, just voice to voice, generation to generation. That's not just bedtime storytelling. That's the original hard drive. And it only existed because people had nothing else to do at night except talk. The oldest dice ever found. But here's where it gets really interesting, because talking wasn't enough. At some point, ancient humans wanted something with actual stake. In 2004, archaeologists digging at a site called Shar-e-Sukta, nicknamed the Burnt City in modern-day Iran, found something that stunned them, a set of dice, carved from bone, sitting next to a board with 20 spaces, in a grave next to a human skeleton. The dice were roughly 5,000 years old. Not stone tools, not weapons, dice. Someone, 5,000 years ago, wanted to gamble so badly they were buried with the game. But dice like these probably weren't even the original version. Long before carved cubes, humans were rolling something much stranger, knuckle bones. Specifically, the small ankle bones of sheep and goats called astragali. These bones naturally land on 4 different sides, kind of like a lopsided dice. And across ancient Greece, Rome, and Egypt, people used them for gambling, fortune-telling, and games that were basically the ancestor of modern dice and even modern board games. Kids played with them too, a simpler version that survived for thousands of years and eventually became the game of Jack. If you ever played jacks as a kid, you were playing a version of a game that's at least 3,500 years old. So the next time you roll a die in Monopoly or flick a coin to make a decision, you're doing something ancient humans were already doing before the pyramids existed, buried with their board games. Now here's the part that will actually change how you think about ancient people. They weren't just gambling with dice, they were building entire board games and taking them so seriously they wanted to play them in the afterlife. In the 1920s, archaeologists digging in the ancient city of Ur in modern-day Iraq uncovered a game board dating back roughly 4,600 years. It's now called the Royal Game of Ur. Beautiful inlaid shell and lapis lazuli, a track of 20 squares, and rules that archaeologists actually reconstructed from an ancient clay tablet written thousands of years later by a Babylonian scribe explaining how to play. People were still playing this exact game 2,000 years after it was invented. That's like someone today playing a board game invented before the Roman Empire even existed and still knowing the rules. But the game that really gets people is Senet, ancient Egypt's favorite board game going back at least 5,000 years. Senet boards have been found in tombs across Egypt, including in the tomb of King Tutankhamun. Multiple sets, actually, beautifully carved, some in ebony and ivory. Here's the part that hits different. Over the centuries, Egyptians started believing the game represented a soul's journey through the afterlife. Winning wasn't just winning. It symbolically meant a safe passage to the next world. Imagine that. A board game so central to daily life that it eventually became a symbol for death itself. You've felt this before, actually. Think about the last time a simple family game night turned unexpectedly intense. Now imagine that same feeling stretched across 5,000 years of human history. Games you could die playing. But wait, not every ancient game was relaxing. Some of them were terrifying. In Mesoamerica, the region covering modern-day Mexico and Central America, the Maya and later the Aztec played something called the Mesoamerican ballgame. Archaeologists have found ball courts at nearly every major Maya and Aztec site, some over 3,000 years old. Here's how it worked. 2 teams, a solid rubber ball, sometimes weighing up to 9 pounds, roughly like a bowling ball. Players couldn't use their hands or feet, just their hips, forearms, and thighs to keep the ball moving, sometimes through narrow stone rings mounted mounted high on the court walls. It was part sport, part spectacle, part religious ritual. And in some cases, especially among the Maya, historical and artistic evidence suggests the losing team, or sometimes captives forced to play, could be sacrificed after the game. Picture that. You're not just playing for bragging rights, you're playing because your life might actually depend on the outcome. That's an intensity level modern sports fans can barely imagine. Next time your team loses in overtime and it feels like the end of the world, somewhere 2,000 years ago, it might have actually been. Riddles and mind games. Now here's a part that surprises everyone. Ancient humans didn't just play physical games, they played mental ones too. Riddles are one of the oldest recorded forms of entertainment on Earth. The most famous ancient riddle comes from Greek mythology, the Sphinx, guarding the road to the city of Thebes, asking travelers a question. Answer correctly, you live. Answer wrong, you die. The riddle asked, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? The answer? A human being, crawling as a baby, walking as an adult, and using a cane in old age. But riddles weren't just Greek. Ancient Sumerian text from over 4,000 years ago, some of the oldest written text humans have ever found, include riddles too. Scholars believe they were used to teach children how to think, how to reason, how to notice patterns in the world around them. Think about that. Before smartphones, before school as you know it, riddles were basically an ancient version of a brain teaser app, passed from adult to child around the same fire where the myths were being told. The oldest toys ever found. And here's the part that hits closest to home. Because ancient people weren't just entertaining adults, they were entertaining kids too. Archaeologists have found small clay and wooden figures, some shaped like animals with wheels attached to their legs, dating back over 4,000 years in parts of Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Simple pull toys, the same basic concept behind toys kids play with today. In ancient Egypt, archaeologists found wooden paddle dolls and carved animal figurines placed in children's graves, meant to keep them company or entertained in the afterlife. And in ancient Rome, kids played with something called a trochus, a metal hoop pushed along the ground with a stick. Sound familiar? It's almost identical to the hoop and stick toys that were still popular with children well into the 1900s, thousands of years later. This is the part that actually matters. A parent, thousands of years ago, sitting somewhere in Mesopotamia, carved a tiny wheel onto a tiny clay animal for absolutely no survival reason, just so their kid would smile. That's not boredom, that's love disguised as a toy. Why this actually matters to you. So here's the full picture. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans had no phones, no TV, no internet. And instead of falling apart, they built an entire world to fill the silence. Fireside stories that survived 7,000 years. Dice carved from bone. Board games so meaningful they were buried with kings. Games so intense they carried life and death stake. Riddles that trained the next generation how to think. Toys built purely out of love. None of that came from necessity. You don't need a riddle to survive a winter. You don't need a board game to hunt. All of it came from the exact same place your Netflix queue comes from. A mind with time on its hands, looking for something to fill it. So the next time you're bored, really bored, phone dead, nothing to do, remember what you now know. Boredom isn't empty time. It's the same space where your ancestors built stories, games, art, and connection that outlasted empires. You come from people who never let silence stay silent for long. Subscribe. I'll see you next time.